but
Right.
you do a phenomenal job with the house, with the garden. That's kind of like your domain. And even oftentimes you'll do like great research on finances, on investments, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of those things. If I know that you've done the research and so it's not just doing the research. Are you qualified?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the mental capacity to interpret the data?
But that has to be proven.
That has to be proven. And once that person has proven that, I should be able to take my hands off and say, okay. All right, shalom, family. How y'all doing?
Shalom.
All right, we want to welcome you guys to the Go Lightly Perspective. We hope that this day finds you well. Shabbat shalom to you. Shabbat shalom to your family. Shabbat shalom to the heavens and the earth. We thank the Most High for another day and for what he's doing in our lives. We're coming back in one more time just to share some elevated thoughts from the Go Lightly Perspective. I'm here with my wife. We're going to have a good time. How you feel today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, family. So just to tap back in. But before we do that, everyone, please take a moment. Hit the thumbs up, like the video. Please share the video as we're continuing to grow the platform organically. We may not get a lot of views, but those that do view our content appreciate it. They contact us, they share a lot of the benefits they've been getting. So, we honor the Most High for that. And we're so thankful that he is using us in these times to redefine and to challenge, to probe and to repair, which is what we're going to discuss on today's podcast. We'll be discussing repairing the breach from Isaiah 58. But before we do that, I just wanted to recap.
Mm-hmm.
Early in the week, I discussed the elevated threat that we're under, after so many mass shootings, specifically addressing our community. And I'll say this again, as I've said many, many times, I don't try to speak to or for any other people group. I only speak to my people. I don't speak for my people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't speak for them. I speak those things that have been given to me from above. And I know that the things that we share all the time, it's not easy to execute. However, we do ensure that it is biblically based and is fundamentally sound according to the scriptures, so that we're blameless in everything that we do. So that being said, we were, just dealing with many different elements of preparation, elevating the threats. I had to elevate the threats for my household with my wife to ensure that when she's away from me, that she's protected, that she has the kinetic energy tools to neutralize a threat. That's what we'll say. That's what we'll call it. And I think that you should consider those things as well, whatever would be best for you and your house. So that was a healthy conversation that we had, and I hope that benefited you. I've been of that mindset for quite some time. And, this was even before we got to this point, right?
Right.
We've been doing this for some 10, 15 years. Just in a certain mindset that things are ultimately going to devolve and get bad. And when things get bad, we don't want to be in the midst of the bad.
Mm-hmm.
We try to stock up, and we try to be prepared. We opted for a different lifestyle to live, to disconnect intentionally, to come out from among them. And
I remember I used to be afraid of you telling me stuff.
About, I would, and I still am. I am heavy into prophecy, trying to correlate things. And, I would share things with her, and it's like, babe, it just seems like doom and gloom is too much. I can't handle it. But now, the things that were once conspiratorial are now fact.
Mm-hmm.
They're bringing it to you. You know, they just had a conversation in Congress about we've been seeing unidentified flying objects, UFOs.
Again.
Yeah, we need to vet this. This was just a conversation in Congress this week.
Oh.
So it's, you know, the religion has made our people not want to deal with the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
But the book that we say that we believe in is full of supernatural occurrences. So we can't be afraid of those things. So since you've had a shift in your thought, have those things or those conversations, do they still trouble you the way that they used to?
No, not at all.
No,
not at all. I thought initially, I thought you were just,
negative.
well, military background. Had a lot to do with it, at least I thought.
Me? Military?
Right.
Who'd have think it?
Would it be your shirt? No, but initially I kind of attributed it to that. I thought maybe it was just a heightened, I'm like, does he have PTSD? What's wrong with him?
Yeah, I had a little bit.
But no, it wasn't that bad. I mean, you know,
there's always worst cases, but
right.
you know,
I mean, that's a real thing. You know, not
people in the military are stained permanently.
Right, and that's really what I meant. So depending on, you know, there's levels of severity of the trauma.
Correct.
But I thought that definitely it had framed some thinking for you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you know, I appreciated it because you were, you know, it took me some time, but because I did feel like it was really heavy and, you know, it made me nervous because these were things I hadn't necessarily considered before, because you typically don't think, you know, anything's going to happen. You just run into
who wants to think about famine?
Right.
Who wants to think about pestilence? Who wants to think about, well, what am I going to do if there's no more water? How am I going to live? Have I practiced? Do I have skill sets to deal with that? How am I going to be able to defend myself if intruders come? And I have these conversations with my. You know what? Let me stop. I'll stop. I got to reel myself back in, family. I have to stop myself. But let's go ahead and move the conversation forward. Thank you so much. We were talking about just preparedness. Now, we talked about you gardening. I gave you the directive to feed the family, and you have been plying the craft. You've been looking at all type of YouTube videos. You're in all type of Facebook groups, YouTube groups, trying to figure out the way. We're fortunate to be connected to Atlanta Harvest. We have some master farmers. Shout out Atlanta Harvest. Shout out Yisrael Family Farms out there in Sacramento, and Atlanta Families Farms, obviously in Atlanta. You know, love you guys. But how has your journey as a gardener been as of late?
It's rewarding. I've actually reaped some of the things that I've sown. The natural law has proven itself here in our home in that one of many ways.
So what did you reap?
I had cabbage. I had some collards, some romaine lettuce. I almost had strawberries until something decided they wanted them before I could get them. But,
got to be more careful.
I know.
We had potatoes as well.
Potatoes.
Yes.
We really liked those.
Those potatoes were good.
So that was, and it brought a sense of, it was like a really proud feeling. And I wanted to make sure I gave all of it to you first. I was like,
she really didn't share a lot of it with the rest of the families. I got second, third, fourth portions the following day.
No, this is Abba's food.
This Abba's plate. We need to, because I mean, we made some decisions even as far as preparedness to try to eat a little bit better.
Right.
To eat a little cleaner, to ensure that it's not just about the number of years that you have, it's about the quality of those years. And we want to ensure that we have a qualitative lifestyle that lends toward longevity, less inflammation, less mental fog. So
I've enjoyed it. You know, I'm no quitter. So now, you know, just going to have to focus on. Oh, and today I had my heart broken. Because of my garden area, my husband wanted to help me by removing some of the shade over the area.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the trees had to go.
Yeah. It was a very large white oak. It was probably
50 or 60
it
years
was
old.
taller than the house. It was taller than the house. It was close to
It was,
probably about 70, but 60, 70 feet. It was big. After we cut it down, oddly enough, I had this moment before they came to cut it down. I just put my hand on the tree, and this might seem kind of weird, like, okay, well, Hodge, you a tree hugger.
I
Okay,
know. I
whatever.
sent somebody a message today. I was like, I'm crying. Does that make me a tree hugger?
Yeah, so I just put my hand on the tree, and I just thanked it. There's this book that you guys should read called The Life of Trees. I can't remember the author. It's a phenomenal book. It talks about the life of trees and how interconnected they are, and that they really are alive, family. We shouldn't just look at them as just these inanimate objects.
Very much alive.
They are alive, and so after the trees got cut down and
it
they
wants
hauled
to
off.
live.
Yeah, they hauled off a lot of the branches. So we kept a lot of the larger trunk because we're gonna do some other things with it. I get this text message. My wife, she was standing. Her feet were standing on the tree, on the stump of the tree, what was left, and she was just dwarfed by the massive size of this tree, and she was crying. She was saddened by the tree. So she was like, this tree can't be used for firewood. We have to have some type of alternative use for it. So
to stay around
yeah,
for as long as possible. That was a very
beautiful white oak,
beautiful tree.
But it had to go.
It had to go because my family needs. And it's just by virtue of, where we live and the wildlife and everything else around the tree was inside of the fence.
Yeah.
So we can't really garden outside of the fence and have anything.
Yeah, they'll take it away.
That's what happened last year. They kind of had their way with it. But yeah, I just want to make sure that the tree didn't give its life
in vain. Yeah, and then too, fellas, all my brothers, as your wife who's connected with the Most High, back in the vibration of righteousness, keeping the law, statutes, and the commandments, and following after you, she's going to get more sensitive to the things of the earth. Because we know the analogy that the woman is the earth, right? Mm-hmm. That brings forth life. You put seed in her womb. She keeps it. She multiplies it. She multiplies it, makes it greater, then ultimately gives it back to you. The same thing that the womb of the earth does, which is where we came from. That Adam, from the dust of the earth, she gave, and the Father blew into him. Mm-hmm. But, your Isha is going to become more connected and sensitive to the things around her. So in your leadership, consider her. Listen to what she has to say, especially if she's reconnecting in this way. It makes you better. It'll help the family, help you make better decisions for the family. So I just wanted to say that because from our perspective, our ancestors never devalued women. We mastered the divine feminine. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to repair. That's what we're trying to get back to in articulating. I was having a conversation about patriarchy because, sometimes you want to say it and show it, or you want to show it and display different characteristics of it without necessarily saying the word. But sometimes it is essential to help people to juxtapose what you're doing and what you're advocating for, why that's a good thing versus what they may have perceived. Oftentimes, we're fighting against this illusion and this misinformation in people's minds. Have you ever had to deal with that?
Of course. I think by and large, people who hear, someone speak of a patriarchal perspective or mindset or structure is that it's oppressive,
Immediately.
immediately oppressive. It's this, overbearing male who's, as you say, a lion in his own home, who does not really, is not tolerant of a lot. It kind of a selfish male kind of figure, if you will.
Kind of a crude, walks around grunting, barking out orders. Like that's not the way that our ancestors moved and operated. So we're getting back in that vibration. Go ahead, love.
But no, I just think that that's part of that false machismo perspective that they, so the Western mindset tells men, you can't be emotional because that's effeminate. Well, you can't have emotions. You shouldn't show any type of emotion because that's effeminate.
And I disagree with that.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. So when you look at it through, that lens where a male has, no regard for anything that's tender or kind or, loving, then you can easily attribute or say that a patriarch is just this overbearing, non-caring, apathetic kind of person, discompassionate.
Right. And, that type of leadership model is not attractive. And I think that the patriarchal model that we advocate for is very attractive. It makes, it should be magnetic. So, and I said that there's two different polarities of a magnet. It either attracts or it's going to repel. Are you repelling your family? You're pushing them away every chance you get. And when they do have the opportunity to get away, they're gone. Dad and family, forget about that. I'm moving on to another aspect of my life versus you're attracting them. You're showing the value, the importance, the significance of it. They feel like they're part of the group. They're not an individual. You're not moving as an individual. You're moving in a sacrificial, a significant way that makes them see that it's really, really important that I do this as well. You have to model it for them to be able to accept it and process it properly. And when you do it, your wife will see it. She'll see that you may be struggling with something that you don't even want to do, but you ultimately, through prayer, through fasting, through meditation, through taking counsel from those that are actually ahead of you in years and experience, they were able to bring themselves to that. There's in the multitude of counselors, there's safety. You want to say something?
So the point about the male in, not really occupying his rightful place. If a male is constantly having to speak these words in his home, then it's probably out of order.
Okay.
If I'm the man, I'm the head of the house, I run this.
Yeah.
Something is wrong.
And see, I'm not an advocate for that. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was about to say something else. Go ahead. You did finish your thought.
No, that's it. I mean, I just, those are terms that you've heard, over the years where people just struggle with this. It's like jockeying for a position with the woman. And
it's this power. You don't want this power struggle dynamic. So whenever there's a power struggle, family, it's because the roles have not clearly been defined. When you begin to define the roles and who's who, what's what, and ultimately who reports up to who, that eases the tension in the house. So a relative example is, if it comes to like family or decor in the house, food, what we having for dinner. It's like, I yield to my wife, not just in that. It's not relegated only to the house, but, you do a phenomenal job with the house, with the garden. That's kind of like your domain. And even oftentimes you'll do like great research on finances, on investments, a lot of those things. If I know that you've done the research and so it's not just doing the research. Are you qualified? Do you have the mental capacity to interpret the data?
But that has to be proven.
That has to be proven. And once that person has proven that, I should be able to take my hands off and say, okay, what do you think we should do? A, B, C, D? Okay, give me a day or so. Let me think about it, pray about it. You know what? We're going to do what you said. Or it depends on the time span that you have. Maybe you don't have a day or so. Baby, did you do the research? Yes. And you think this is the way we should go? Yes. All right, let's do it. I'm confident, because even if you right, we right. And even if you wrong, we still right. So it's, some things are trial and error, but please, what we say is you should use your people.
Right.
I don't mean use as in abuse, meaning
Utilize.
put them to work, utilize the skill sets that they have. And if they don't have skill sets, develop them.
Mm-hmm.
Develop them to be the solution that you need.
Well,
if they can be
I was
developed.
about to say everybody
ain't
has
able.
capacity.
Yeah.
But that should be, fully assessed. And if there is something that, someone needs, or your patriarch needs of you, you should do everything within your power to become whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Even things that are not within your power, you need to find the power.
Find it.
To become whatever that is. So, yeah, that's about
good.
what I had to
And
say
that,
about that.
well, it's great, because that segues right into what we're going to discuss, family. We're going to jump right into Isaiah 58. This is part of the command that I have, the burden that I have in articulating the things that I do articulate. And I thank the Father that others are coming along. They're tracking with us. They're discussing family structure. They're discussing patriarchy. I've been authorized to do this by one that is greater. I was initiated into this school of thought by another patriarch. You can't get this vicariously. I'm going to tell you, which made me venerate my fathers, because I just happen to be Haji.
Who is?
The son of William. Who was the son of Daniel, peace be upon him. Who was the son of Freeman, peace be upon him. And the son of George, peace be upon him. I thank the Father for these great men, and my matriarch, the womb in which I came from. I just, we talked about venerating the earth.
Mm-hmm.
I thank the Father for that. So men that don't have veneration, appreciation for their fathers, when they try to teach this family structure, it'll be cold, apathetic, almost sterile and academic, like a lab, because they don't have the compassion that is necessary. And the compassion comes from having to go through tests to earn your stripes. Mm-hmm. A certain burning, a forging goes about, a purification, I would say. Let's call it a purification from exercising these things versus just articulating these things. It's completely different. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do, I want to jump right into this Isaiah 58. You should read it beyond verse number 1, which is something that's a verse that's very, very prominent in the Israelite tradition, in our culture. Cry loud and spare not. We hear that quite often. But what I want to get to is down to verse 12. But we really can't get to verse 12, family, if we don't deal with the necessity of fasting and from abstaining and from denying yourself, killing your own self-will. That is absolutely essential to get yourself to the point to where you can be the repairer of the breach. You can't repair the breach if you've broken yourself. How can you help someone if you're not whole, if you're not complete? You can't help someone repair the relationship with their father if you have a grievance and an ought with their father. You can't help someone with their marriage if you have ought and grievances with your wife. Wives, women, how are you going to teach them about marriage if you're not even married? And if you have issue with your husband, I ain't going to submit to him. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do, can't no Negro tell me what to do because, maybe that happened in the old times, in the Bible times, but in 2022, women ain't going for that.
They
Okay.
haven't been going for it before 2022.
Talk that talk.
Yeah.
They haven't been. And you have to ask yourself, well, what is the result? What is the outcome? Let's look at the metrics. What is the data? What are the statistics that show that us being independent, not submitting to our husbands, destroying or operating from an antithetical perspective or mindset toward biblical structure?
Mm-hmm.
What is the result? Are we leading in any category statistically outside of maybe,
Divorce,
a few? We're leading in divorce and single motherhood and maybe,
baby mamas.
And maybe we got a few more degrees.
Yeah, because that's what's more important.
That's success, but that's success.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with education, but you got to redefine success. And maybe we'll get into that. I don't know if we'll have time. Maybe we need to do part 2 of redefining these things. So family, let's read the text before we get too far away. I just wanted to bring your mind, bring certain things into focus when it comes down to how can you repair the breach? Mm-hmm. You have to be willing to fast and to pray and to be healed yourself and to be led of the Father. And see, if you look at verse 11, it says, and Yahuwah shall guide thee continually and satisfy thy soul in drought and make fat thy bones, and thou shalt be a watered garden and like a spring of water whose waters fail not. This is being able to produce when everyone else is contracting. There's drought outside. There's a famine coming. We were talking about preparation. There is a famine coming. There's a famine coming for the world, yet there's going to be a group who's prepared, who's going to increase and be able to transmute this negative energy into positive energy, this plague into a paradise, this trash into a treasure, if you would. Mm-hmm. I know that, I know a lot of women may have an issue with being called fat, but I don't mind my bones being fat in verse 11. He said he's going to make fat thy bones.
Big bone.
Big boned it. That's what.
It's the old thick.
Oh, yeah.
Thick.
Yeah. Who want to be big bone? And thou shalt be like a water garden, like a spring of water, whose waters fail not, like a tree planted by rivers of water that bringeth forth fruit in its due season. See, that's what we want to be, where our waters fail not. And it's the only way that our waters don't fail is because we're connected to an infinite source, a source that extends from far beyond our own arrival here. That's why it encourages us to do this in verse 12. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. When it talks about those that be of thee, we're talking about those that came from you, or those that are directly related, interconnected with you, those that be of you. Now, because I see things the way I see them, multiplying like a good, husband, father, and patriarch, I see that of, because I got some that are of me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Those that be of thee shall build the old waste places. Are you preparing your seeds, your sons and your daughters to replace you? Have you influenced your wife enough to where she can turn their faces toward who?
Their father.
Toward their father. And their father should be looking at the Father. That's what I was referring to in terms of this thing has to be so attractive that it pulls you in closer. It's magnetic. Mm-hmm. It makes you want to participate in said thing because she sees the value in this. Have you communicated in a way where you can, let's put it like this. Did your evangelism start in your home? Don't go out. Don't try to talk to me about your talk. Bring me somebody in your family that believe what you believe, that can co-sign what you're talking about. If you hadn't evangelized your family, don't try to evangelize me. I'm gonna tell you, we all about family over here, because family is your greatest witness. Does that make sense, family? Did that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
All right, awesome. Let me keep going. I'm going to try not to get bogged down. And it says in the next clause, thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations. That means somebody having some children. You're going to raise the foundation, that which they stand on. It's going to, and we know that Yahushua HaMashiach is our chief cornerstone. We're laying the foundation for these things now for many generations, where it's not just me. It is, if your salvation and the things that you do are for you and you alone, it is selfish.
And pointless.
It is pointless. Why is that?
Because it dies when you die.
It dies when you die. Versus if you have a wife that can produce some sons and some daughters, that leverages major influence over their mind, over their psyche and their consciousness, and they cling to the law of their mother. Y'all read Proverbs chapter 1 if you hadn't, go read it. To the law of your mother.
Instruction of the Father.
And the instruction of the Father, absolutely. That's what she got her law from, though.
Mm-hmm.
From the Father.
Should be one.
Oneness, absolutely. She's able to articulate it in a different way than the Father does, full of detail, color, hue, and value.
I interpret that as the instruction came to the wife from the husband, and she laid down the law in accordance with the instruction.
Speak a little bit louder, though.
Couldn't hear me.
Yeah, I want to make sure
I just interpret that as the law, the instruction from the husband. The instruction in that verse is referencing the wife being instructed or given a directive. And then she lays down the laws in accordance with those instructions for the children in the home. And that's, because a young child doesn't really interface that much with their father until they have, I believe I'm going to say this right, Imagina, Elder Murray say that until you master your mother.
So that's a great point. And this is and I want you to elaborate on that, because I told my sons this. They'll say things like, Abba, I want to have your mind. I want to understand how you move. And I told them, you can't understand. If you want to understand me, you got to understand her. That's my feminine expression. So she will help you get my mind faster than you can get it from just talking to me directly, because oftentimes my speech is kind of cryptic. I don't fill it in the details. I expect you to know, but what you don't know, she can help you out.
Oh my goodness. I can't even. I can't even.
I communicate like a man.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I understand all that's not said. So I know what you mean when you say things, even though they may miss it. But go on and finish this scripture.
Okay. Toda. So I'm going to read verse 12. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. I'm talking about the areas that were lying waste, that were not valued. We're talking about things from antiquity. Maybe this modern culture doesn't value it. Maybe the modern man and the modern woman don't value it. But those that come from you are going to rebuild these old waste places. They didn't receive the proper attention. But now our eyes are like laser focused, because we see that the outcomes have not been beneficial to us. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations, and thou shalt be called. Not you gonna call yourself. You're going to be called, referred to as what?
The repairer
of the breach, the restorer of the paths to dwell in. This is a weighty, weighty thing, family. And it's a worthy cause to repair the old waste places. and then to raise up a group that are going to continue this way, not just for one or two generations, for many, many generations. So you got to ask yourself, what must I do? What needs to be repaired? If you don't know what needs to be repaired, how can you be called the repairer? The one that does said thing. Do you have the capacity outside of having the zeal? Because you can have a zeal, but it's not according to knowledge. Having the zeal and the sincerity is not enough. You can be sincerely wrong in the things that you advocate for. You can be zealously off balance. That ain't right because you haven't done it. You've seen it, heard a little bit of it. I read a little bit of Emma Gina's book. You know, I seen a little bit of what, the Go Lightly perspective. And, I read a little bit of, I read the book of Ruth, and I saw how, Ruth and Naomi and Boaz, and he was a kinsman redeemer. And yeah, now I'm going to go teach on that.
I understand all of it.
All of it. I got it. No, you don't. You're the people that you have helped, those that are of. See, these are those that are born not of flesh and blood. Man, I could go to the book of John. These are not those that were born of flesh and blood, but of the will of Yah. So the question is, what of? The ofness of a man. The ofness. What are you of? Are you of those?
Are you of the world?
Ooh.
Or as the Honorable Elder Murray says, the doings of the world.
Going after the doings of the land. What ofness are you? Are you those of the children of Israel that were of the wilderness, that saw the greatness and majesty of the Father and only wanted him, that grew up on manna and understood that they could conquer and defeat all of their enemies because they were led by a pillar of cloud by day and a fire by night? Or are you of those that came out of Egypt but still had Egypt in them? What of are you? Now, whatever you are of, you're going to produce.
It's funny. This is a totally worldly example that I'm going to use.
Come
on. Wait a minute. Was it something about the ghetto?
You can take the ghetto out the person, out the person.
You can take the person out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the person. Because once you are in a thing for so long, you become consumed by it. So you are now at one with that thing.
Okay.
That's how we talk about chitlins.
You
can remove all the excrement you'd like. You're still eating poop. So it has become one with that thing.
Yes, you one with it. They're inextricably woven together. There is just because you take the boo-boo out, it was still in there.
It was made to have boo-boo in it. So, I mean, it's been there from day one.
It's porous. It got into the tract. It got into the skin. Oh, my goodness. That was, yeah.
Oh, I clean mine real good.
Yeah, if you say so. Yeah. Yeah. And when I found out what they were, it was a wrap.
What food group that goes in? I cannot.
Yeah, I'll pass.
I never ate that before.
Yeah.
It doesn't smell. It's not even doesn't even smell good.
And if you still of that mindset eating slave food, you cannot be a repairer of the breach. You can't repair the breach. Why? Because you're still broken.
Yeah, your spirit.
Your diet is broken. You're eating trash. Your mind is broken. So let's jump to that. Well, you're going to be called the repairer of the breach. What is the breach? It's a chasm. It's a gap. It's a gap in logic. It's a gap in understanding. It's a gap coming from this location to this location. A lot of it has to do with your identity. Absolutely. You repaired the breach of your identity, yet there are other elements of your mind and your heart and your spirit that have to be repaired. Identity is a major component, but it is not the sole component. Knowledge of self is key to help drive you toward worshiping the God of your fathers, aligning yourself with him. But then you have to identify the elements in your mind that are causing you to be confrontation and even contradictory to said power, said God of your fathers. You got something?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Just the definition of breach. Because, you know, when you're thinking in legal terms, someone that, you know.
You have a breech birth.
It's not correct. But the act of breaking or failing to observe a law, agreement, or code of conduct.
Read that one again. Read it a little bit louder.
An act of breaking or failing to observe a law, agreement, or a code of conduct.
We're trying to repair your desire to continue to break that law. We have a contract with the God of the Hebrews
And
that you are being held to.
a break in relation as well.
So our transgression caused a break in a relationship, caused him to be at odds with us, to divorce us, to say no more, away with you, to scatter us to the four corners, specifically Yehuda, if you read Joel chapter 3. But that breach is there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a breach in how you interpret reality.
Mm-hmm.
There's a breach there. There, you are in contract. Read that one more time. You are in contract with the law of the land. And that contract with the law of the land has caused you to be out of contract, out of relationship with the Most High. Read that again, babe.
So there's the breach of a contract is there as well, which is the act of breaking the terms set forth in a contract. And then the original thing that I read was an act of breaking or failing to observe a law, agreement, or code of conduct. And the second definition is a break in relation. I like to look up the definition just to bring a little levity to.
And more specificity as well.
Yeah.
But then you ask yourself, what am I failing to observe?
Mm-hmm.
What we always talk about, proper family structure.
Mm-hmm. Part one.
That's where this all starts.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't get back to that, and we got to break that down even further, because we got to deal. It is. And, you know, I'm looking forward to getting Imagina on to discuss some of these matters. She's agreed. We just have to determine, you know, schedules and things of that nature. I know that she's very, very busy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after we get to a certain point, we're going to call up the Honorable Dr. Thomas Murray. You know, we're going to pull out the big guns, family. But it just takes some time. Y'all, I don't think y'all ready for that. We got to feed you some milk, because many don't even understand that you are in breach of contract. So if you have a problem with the family structure of the scriptures, what it advocates for, you are in violation. You have broken contract.
If you don't even know what the family structure was in the scriptures, you're probably in breach.
Because what has been given to you is a contractual agreement by the God of this land, America, Babylon. They define what they believe is the right, proper family structure. And, you know, they put in place the nuclear family just being a husband, wife, and, you know, children.
There's so many things about families and all these confused people doing all these weird things. And no one's really talking about, you know, what truly represents the family.
But see, that's the thing. Let me take this a little bit further. I've said this previously. This is their culture. It's theirs. They own it.
Do as thou wilt.
Thank you. You can do as you will. They have the ability to redefine terms, to reclassify things whenever they see fit. They can make up laws, change laws whenever they see fit, family. This is their land. This is their culture. So you have to give it back to them and adopt the ancient paths that were the old waste places, the things that were not valued. See, you discard waste. And our people are still looking at the ways of our fathers as waste, as insignificant, as archaic, as anachronistic, as not necessary, because they got a little education.
Right. They don't take all of that.
I got some money. I don't need to do that, honey.
Right. That's the whole, departure from farming and all of that too.
Yeah. So we're going to attempt to repair some of the breaches. We're going to identify some of the breaches. I'm sorry, family. Hold on. I don't know why that has popped up. I don't even know if it's visible, but we'll keep going.
It's not.
Good. We don't even know. It's our sincere desire that the Father will use us as tools to be instruments to articulate and express that which is necessary to try to help you, because I want your family to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
I want your children to be strong and rooted in the faith. And they're so connected to you, oh man. And your wife is so connected to you, oh man, that, oh Israelite, that you're able to influence many generations. I'm not just talking about by teaching things that you haven't lived. That's not the way that you do it. It starts at home. So that's why we go back to family structure. And in that family, you have a husband. Mm-hmm. And that husband is, and when we say he's the head, my head is aware of every scar on my body. It's aware of my entire anatomy. It knows how much weight I can bench press. Mm-hmm. It knows how much I can squat. It knows how fast I am. It knows my visual acuity. Yeah. It knows when I need a shower. My head knows all this about the body. Mm-hmm. And the head is not going to compromise or jeopardize what? The body, because it loves the body.
Mm-hmm. The head is housing the CPU also.
Yes.
It's housing the brain, the control center, all of it is in the head.
In the head, you better have, you better be considering the motherboard too. That's all part of it. So the head, without the body, the head can't live. Mm-hmm. And vice versa. Mm-hmm. So if you are the head and you are my brother, consider those that are connected to you. Mm-hmm. Don't look at yourself individualistic. Look at yourself as one group. I tell my family all the time, I am not more important than you. No individual is more important than the whole. We are working and moving to do, something great in the earth. And it's going to take all of us, every member of the body, mm-hmm. fitly joined together. Mm-hmm. I love how, the elder would say, like, my heart is here. Mm-hmm. But my heart has pericardium and, myocardium, fascia around it, but it's pressed on my lungs. Mm-hmm. It's right there touching the lungs. But it doesn't
breathe.
My liver encased in the fascia and the mucus and the membrane sac that's around it. It's compartmentalized. You have the my gallbladder, mm-hmm. my spleen right underneath it. They're touching, but they do separate things. You gotta know that as the head, what your people are able and capable of doing. That's just part of what that husband is doing. And the way that it all works is that wife is in submission, getting meaning under the mission of the head to produce the right outcome. What would you say about that, love?
You said it all. I mean,
I ain't said it all now. I may have said a lot.
Right. About
The
the
wife's
wife's
role, the
role.
wife's role.
Yes, it's important for the wife to be completely aligned with the husband because if not, it's just gonna be a mess.
Now, I've heard it said that, okay, the husband is the head, but the wife is the neck,
Neck,
and the
the
neck.
neck control the head.
What are your thoughts on that?
Lunacy. I
That's
think so. Where in a situation like you described earlier, I don't know if it was just you and I talking or if you were recording, but where there's a mutual respect
yes,
that I don't have to try to manipulate or you know try to con my way into changing whatever it is that you want because I think in your decisions your family is considered.
yes.
So I don't think that I have to make sure I'm getting back in the day it might have been a little different. Might have been a little different back in the day, but
we live and learn.
yeah,
We
I
grow.
mean, we've been married almost 20 years.
Yeah. Of course, my concepts were totally different than they are now.
Mm-hmm.
And that in and of itself, qualifies one.
Mm-hmm.
When you can look back over your life and see the growth matrix, where you can see the hand of the Father in your life, moving and operating, allowing you to become the greatest version of yourself, not just through education, but through spiritual indoctrination, through spiritual immersion into to higher principles. And those principles aren't just for to show that I'm smarter, greater than anybody, but it's to actually apply.
Mm-hmm.
Can you apply said thing? We're trying to give you things that can give you like traction to your house,
Mm-hmm.
traction to your home. So, give an example of let's give an example because, I tried to, for the husbands, I talked about, their leadership, not being so forward, not being so hard. And I'm not talking about being a man. Like you be a man,
Mm-hmm.
and that means different things to different people from a cultural connotation in which you view it. I don't look at it from this, you know, I don't want to get into the whole hyper masculinity or toxic masculinity conversation,
Mm-hmm.
but the things where a man steps forward and just communicates like a man, they view as toxic. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say we have to repair so many different elements in this,
Mm-hmm.
where we have to allow them to define whatever they want to define and refine. And then we look at our ancestors and we draw conclusions from the way that they dealt with matters and the way that they moved and operated to see how compassionate, loving, kind, generous, forgiving, nurturing, let's just say Abraham was,
Mm-hmm.
Isaac was, Jacob was. And we're not going to use our European counterpart as a metric of what our fathers or what we should be doing. We're not going to do that. So I talked about that with men. I don't think that we're going to get to this tonight because we're almost at an hour. What would you share for the women? What would you share for the women that in regards to the necessity of submission for women that may have difficulty with that notion where it's almost profanity for them?
Well, you need to ask why it's offensive first. And that does often require a lot of soul searching, going on some type of a journey. I'm very nostalgic, so I find myself doing that often when I find myself in a position where something triggers me and I don't particularly like it. So I try to trace back the origin. So that's the first step, I think, is to try to identify the source of the trigger at its origin.
It sometimes the trigger is just the word.
Right, but why?
Why?
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, why? It's just a word, just like a cup. It's a word. Now it does mean something, but it doesn't mean anything that's negative or damaging.
But that's it. It's become synonymous with oppression, with
It's a
domination.
different word.
Yeah,
It's not a synonym.
yeah.
It's a different word. So submitting to something is it's more of a reverent kind
Mhm.
of thing. You're admitting that something is greater than you.
Oh, baby, God, you about to get this
So
video flagged.
why?
They
Oh,
gonna report this video. She's being oppressed. She
no,
just said that
that's
you
what
have to reverence one is greater than you.
it means.
Okay, okay, I'm with you. I'm
Oh,
just messing with
okay. I missed the humor.
you.
But yeah, even if you're in a MMA fight, somebody put you in a submission hold, you got to tap out because they're greater than you. You won.
Yeah,
I'm done. Let
yeah,
me up. I'm sorry.
yeah.
But that's really, it's just someone is greater,
And it's always someone greater.
and it's out of respect.
Hmm.
Either you respect that hold or your arm's probably gonna get broken. It's
Yeah,
But either way, that's just how I see it.
yeah. And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging one that's greater. There's always one greater in any profession. What you got to sneeze? Yeah, it's okay. There's always one greater in every environment that you've come from, that you've ever experienced. If that's in sports and entertainment, in any occupation, there's always one that can teach you, that can help you. We have mentors in professions. We have mentors in academia, tutors, professors. There's always one greater. Why? And you have no issue with giving reverence to them. But some kind of way in relationships and in marriage, you have difficulty giving proper reverence to the husband who was given this office by the Most High. So if you have a problem with that, you have a low key indictment and problem with the Most High,
Mhm,
because it's what he did.
mhm.
The man didn't just come and say, well, I'm the head. No, the Father said that. He did it that way for the purpose of reproducing as him, to make a man in his image and his likeness. So he made man, and then out of the man came the woman. And the woman, and through them coming together, they can reproduce to make a child.
Right.
This in and of itself is the very essence of Elohim. Elohim. Now,
Mm-hmm.
people that have issues with that model, and they can, I don't even talk to those people. I'm not a defender of the faith.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a debater. I don't do any of that. I am so busy, consumed with my assignment, I don't have time for that. These people have an issue with the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? Anything else?
What are the problem issues that
Yeah.
I have?
They have a problem with the Most High. They also have a problem with the scriptures.
Oh yeah, with the book.
Yeah, they hate the book. But then they'll try
They
to.
want to pick and choose out of it, whatever they would like.
Mhm.
The things that aren't difficult for them, the easy things.
It's clear that they have a problem with the text, yet they try to speak so authoritatively
Mm-hmm.
about the text that you don't even like. Man, get out of here. That you don't even reverence.
Like you could even see like a vegan. No, I have no problem with the dietary law.
Mhm.
Dietary law. You better follow the dietary laws. They walk around saying that stuff, and then you're fornicating.
Yeah.
Or, it's kind of, I pick and choose. Either I'm going to go with the whole book or I'm in error.
Yeah. And we believe in the entire text, and
I also believe that people are on a journey. I don't think
that's
that
good.
anybody gets it 100% of the time, the first time, second time. It's multiple, years of effort to try to master and understand, what the essence of the scriptures really about. And I think, even though that's noble and whatever, it's still, what is your heart about it?
Mhm.
As long as your mind is right about it and you're not, having this idea that, he made me like this,
Yeah.
you know.
The Father did not make you wicked. You were not made to be that way.
Right.
You've become that by the influence of the dominant environment.
Right.
That's what you have become. So,
yeah, just on a quest to become, that perfection that you speak of when you speak of, you said people say no one's perfect. And, in terms of what?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and that they always use, whenever they start there, whenever somebody say, I'm only human, duh. I'm not perfect, duh.
Right.
Of course, no one assumed that you were inhumane or that you were perfect or without flaw, without error.
Right.
So when you start there with an argument, I automatically know that here we go. This is going to be most times it becomes this irrational argument. Because like, I didn't put you on that pedestal of perfection. So
Right.
you don't even need to tell me that. I do understand it. But let's go ahead, family. We're going to deal with, we talked about repairing of the breach, and I don't want it to get lost. We kind of, we discussed the family structure and how we have to move as a husband being the head of household and that wife being in submission to that, because what we want to have is to ensure that what we're giving is helping you to have a successful family, reproducing yourselves for many, many generations. But that requires that you have to repair your mind, your heart, and your spirit. You have to repair your mind, which is, your seat of judgment, how you engage the world and interpret reality, how you rationalize what you find is right and wrong. Those things are in your mind. You can have an intellectual conversation that is absolutely unemotional about a myriad of different political and even social topics. But have those topics been filtered through the lenses or through the cleansing agents of Torah? And if you haven't done that, then your mind has not been washed. You haven't been brainwashed. Can I use that term? You have to wash your brain of the filth of this culture to begin to embrace a higher level of thought, because the Most High said that my thoughts are not your thoughts.
Ways.
Neither are my ways your ways. There is a breach. There's a chasm there as far as the east is from the west. So how do we get from one point to the other is by taking heed to thy law. You have to have, I suggest that you have the law of the Most High in your mind that will begin to cleanse and purge you from all unrighteousness. It's not an easy thing. You need some tea? It's not an easy thing. I realize that. It is a process. It's going to be painful. But if you go back and you consider that Isaiah 58, it talks about those that had denied their appetites, denied their desires through fasting and praying, the very thing that he called for to help you get over that hump, to help you reinvigorate these ancient principles it's in our DNA, family. It's just in you. It's in the very blood that flows through your vein, because this is part of the breach. This is the reason why we're here. And many may not understand what I'm saying, but I believe that our people are, the Israelites of the Bible, that based on the prophecies and based on the fulfillment of said prophecies, Joel chapter 3, Deuteronomy 28. Leviticus 26, 24. Right. It's so many different prophecies about our people, and we fulfill 100% of them. Not 99. We fulfilled all of them. to show that we are said people group. I don't go off on tangents trying to show who is not. That ain't my business. There are others that do that masterfully. That's just not my station. And I stay in my station. You understand me? So we want to try to assist in the recovering of this ancient mindset so that the Father can even give you more wisdom, more understanding, but you have to show acceptance and actualization of what has already been given you. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay, you tracking with me?
Mm-hmm.
So the whole, psychological aspect, we have so many wounds, we have so much damage, but there is a balm in Gilead, family. There is a balm in Gilead. So you have to start with repairing your mind. Then, which is your reasoning, your intellect, your judgment. The scripture tells us how we cannot be partial in our judgment. So I want you to ask yourself, are you advocating for things that are not in the scriptures? Let me give you an example. Yeah. Many of you could be advocating for, for capitalism. I'm not necessarily against capitalism. All I'm saying is, hold on one family. We'll be disabled in a few minutes.
Keyboard.
Oh my goodness, why is it trying to update now? in the middle of my live, well, I'm not live, but in the middle of what I'm doing is trying to update. Hold on, I'm sorry, family, hold on.
Is it going to, says this? They'll probably do something crazy if we just gonna
hurry up. All right, I'm sorry about that, family. We are going to continue that intellect and that judgment piece. You cannot be unrighteous in your judgment, because the judges, if you follow the text, the judges, those that have the divine sentence of the Most High in their mouth, they were called Elohim. That's what they are. So you want to ensure that your intellect and your judgment is correct. Now, once that information makes it from your mind and it becomes a core issue, a core value, and it sits deep in the recesses of your emotions, it's made its way down to your heart. And in your heart, you could be sensitive to a thing that is still not of the Most High in its origin. You had something you wanted to share?
No, I was just listening, but you're right, because it could be something that you've just kind of conceptualized without any basis of any fact.
Right. So, you asked me the difference between, what is the difference between the heart and the mind? And I said, you could have a conversation about politics, about religion, and it totally be unemotional. Mm-hmm. But let's just say you start having a conversation about somebody being a thief, being a liar. Mm-hmm. Or you have a conversation about abortion. Mm-hmm. And people line up on whatever side they line up. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I'm on the side of the Most High. Right. That's it. Mm-hmm. I don't have to make up a side. I'm on his side. Mm-hmm. So you have to be careful whether to ensure that you're not advocating for something that the God that you say that you serve is already against. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just choosing that topic. It was just an example of that. So that deep-seated feeling, those things are in your heart. How you feel about rearing your children. Mm-hmm. Whether you the type of discipline that you use for your children. That's a heart thing. That's deeper than that's deeper than just intellectual. Right. I can't see myself spanking little Timmy, little Kaziyahu. I can't.
Kazi.
Shout out. Oh, I love that little guy. Yeah, so that's in your heart. So that has to be repaired. So you get that repairing by one, you confess your sins, you go and you have intimate conversation with one that is greater, that would be your father, your elder, your moray, your pastor, your teacher. You go have those conversations with the intent of helping you to now interpret things properly, so that even in your heart, as we're talking about, family structure, that's a heart issue.
Mm-hmm.
How people feel about marriage, that's a hardwired
Right.
thing. That is not easy. It's not easy. Is it easy for a woman that has been empowered, that may have been single, that grew up with a single mother, to relinquish the reins so that a man is now in control? Is that easy?
Why you gotta target me?
Oh, I wasn't targeting you. Oh, but that shoe fit.
Early on, that was, it was some conversations that we had about that. So yes, it is difficult because that's a role that was not seen. I did not see. Now I'll use myself.
Yeah.
I mean, hey.
Start there.
I didn't see growing up the family structure in the biblical sense, or really any other sense. Well, sort of in the sense that it actually was, in the reality that I lived, which was really happy and peaceful for me. Not really realizing the breaches that were all over the place. So, it is difficult because I saw my mother, a very capable, intelligent, beautiful woman.
Blessings.
Highly educated, very successful. I saw her doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she taught me to do a lot of things. Everything that she was working on, I was right there with her. So that instilled in me this abnormal need to control. And it wasn't that she was controlling, but she was the only resource she had.
Mm-hmm. That makes a difference.
Right. So she relied on herself for everything. So it was, I never saw her take a back seat and relax in a setting where, the man was kind of in control of things and, protecting us or whatever. She even had a little temper on her because she was, just got to protect her children and, whatever else. But I never saw, that structure. So when I got married, even though, you and I, we knew we were going to stay that way, it wasn't always easy.
No.
It wasn't.
No.
It's been,
it hadn't been hard.
No, but I don't think that in the beginning we even realized it was anything. I don't think it was until maybe we moved back to Georgia. I think maybe with Sky.
Mm-hmm.
With our daughter, with my husband's daughter was born. I think that's when started some,
That was around that 7-year itch, they say.
No, we weren't 7 years yet.
It was 3, 4.
We've been maybe together
at
that time, but married only
3. Yeah.
3 years when she was born. But either way, I think that's when it really started to kind of come out. Because I would want to grab her. I'm like, we're going to the store. Mm-hmm. And you're like, no, you're not. It's getting dark. I'm like,
right. And see, that's the dying. That is, in order for this unit to become one, mm-hmm. the individual components of that unit have to die to be melded mm-hmm. into this fusing and this oneness that has to occur. And if you don't do that, you'll always be fractured. You'll always be divided.
Mm-hmm. But can I say one more thing about Sky?
Absolutely.
The difference is, not being the first child. She was number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, first daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that triggered something
Oh, that terrified me.
in your mind
That terrified me.
that you had to take real serious control.
Oh, man.
You know, there was never any real issue. We never had any, oh, I'm going, we getting a divorce. We never had anything like that.
No.
But
Thankfully, praise you.
right, no, that's silly stuff. But I think, you know, and I guess it's in place for a reason. Let me put my disclaimer out because I don't intend to offend. It just doesn't fit my feet, so I don't wear those shoes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that that's really when it kind of changed. And I think that's why it became so obvious to me, because I'm sitting there like, well, it's kind of been like this the whole time. And now all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I guess, you know, if you trace it back, I can put a pin in it right there around.
Yeah. Oh, and I know that I elevated my mindset, my spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
at a high degree because I understood what that meant. And I've given that testimony before about I understood, you know, that if I was bound by certain appetites and desires, that those very demons and darknesses would have access to my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, just because I'm the strong man, I'm her cover, I'm your cover. So I had to level up, which caused me to burn, which caused me to do self-improvement, to read and study scripture, and to not just read and study it, to begin to apply it
Right.
on a whole nother level, because I did not want my daughter to end up going after the doings of the land.
Mm-hmm.
That terrified me, man.
You've been a great protector.
Thank you. Thank you.
And father and husband.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate.
Hallelujah. I'm fortunate to have y'all. So the last component, family, thank you for sharing that. And we may revisit some of these at a different time, because we'll have to do part 2, because I don't even know if I've ever done a video that was an hour and almost 20 minutes in. I'm gonna cover this briefly. Is spirit.
Mm-hmm.
We have to repair your mind, your heart, and your spirit. What do you mean by your spirit? That's the component where we broke relationship with the Most High, where now it is time to come back in alignment with Him, to be in alignment with that divine mind, to do the things that He has prescripted, keeping the statutes, keeping the commandments, keeping the laws, in order to repair that relationship so that He can turn His face back toward you. But as long as you are an offense to Him, as long as your spirit is in agreement with the spirit of the world, you cannot have the spirit that would inherit the kingdom. They're antithetical. It's a paradox. They're oppositional. You cannot do that. So we have to get our spirit back in a place of submission, of repentance, teshuvah, turn back to the Most High. Think deeper and richer about the choices that you've made and how you can get back in alignment. And that's what righteousness means, to be in right relationship with the Father. I want to repair the breach in my relationship with the Father. I want to have faith in His only begotten Son and model after His sinless, perfect example. That example of sacrifice, where I sacrifice my will, my ways, my thoughts, my concepts. I sacrifice all of that for Him. Even if it costs me my life, I'm willing to sacrifice it all for Him. That is when the repairing of spirit comes into play. This isn't just intellectual. Information is important, it is absolutely necessary, but we got to repair our spirits, family, so that we can reflect the deity that we say that we serve. And if you're not reflecting Him, then who are you reflecting? Whose image are you casting to the world, because whatever you are, you broadcast for everyone to see.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have something that you wanted to add to that?
No, that was good, Pat.
Well, bless you. Let us repair our spirit as we repair the breaches, the divide, the breach of contract, the errors in our mind, the errors in our judgment, the errors in our hearts, the things that we hold near and dear, and your spirit. Go ahead.
And I do want to add something for any of the wives or women who may be watching. I don't want to give an impression that any of this has been easy to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give the impression that my mind was not of the world.
We all were. That's good.
Right. So, it is possible to embrace your righteous mind. And with that's where your tests and your trials come. But your obedience to what is righteous is that's the actual litmus.
Mm-hmm.
How obedient are you? So, just thinking back to some things, we were married 19 this year. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be 19 this year.
And, during that time, I've always, and even though I didn't call it this, there was a really high level of submission to my husband.
It was.
Even, without me realizing or without me being intentional about it.
Or just saying, I'm going to submit.
Right. It wasn't anything like that. Right. So I was just, I just wanted to. I just wanted to be, what I knew about being a helpmeet. I knew I needed to help.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to help.
You wanted to fight too.
Hey, listen.
She would fight, y'all. She get mad and she gonna stand on her square, and I had to stand on mine. And there's one thing, men, you cannot out argue. You can't out emote a woman.
Oh, you talking about fight you? I thought you were talking about something else. So I said, babe, you telling me this?
No.
So I was like,
No.
what?
No, it's more or less not physically
like,
fighting.
what?
No.
Right.
No, I'm talking about just fighting for, when somebody has a different mindset.
Oh.
That mindset hadn't been completely repaired. Mm-hmm. The heart hasn't been completely repaired. Spirit still hadn't been completely repaired.
My husband challenged me from before he was ever even my boyfriend. We worked together. So work relationships do actually work. People don't listen. Yeah. But anyway, we actually worked together. I was raised in Catholicism. And you remember what I was wearing?
Yeah.
I had on this charm bracelet, not this one, but there was a charm bracelet and it had a crucifix hanging on it. And I used to wear it every day. It was silver, had all these different charms, but he focused on that one charm. And, we used to have to work and it's dark. The room was dark and there was these computer monitors that we were dealing with. And, I'm, working the screen or whatever. And he came, stood in the room and he says, how long are you going to leave? How long? So you Catholic? I was like, yes. Because Black Catholics, they haughty,
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So how long y'all going to leave Jesus on the on the cross? I said, what? And he pointed at the charm. And I was like, okay, this person's a little strange. But this is just, he's been challenging me. And after I started thinking about it, I'm like, dang, that is, why am I commemorating that?
Right.
That wasn't even the thing.
Not at all. Never told us to do that.
Like, why am I even? So that was the first thing. So anybody, I always thought I was really intelligent. So to be able to make me think, he got my attention. So,
Yeah.
and here we are.
And here we are.
And he continues to challenge me to this very moment.
Absolutely. You have to, because, I'm being challenged. The Father always challenges those that he loves and know they'll be able to rise to the occasion. Sometimes the star student gets the most difficult test.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
When you said that, it just resonated.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just so thankful for what the Father's doing, how he's using us, and we're repairing the breach. We had to repair the breach in ourselves first, though,
Mm-hmm.
before we could try to repair it in anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope that you've gained something from this. Please, family, take a moment, like, share. As I said, reach out, send us an email if you feel like, this content has been valuable and you'd like to know more. Maybe we can point you in the right direction. We're not looking to try to get people to follow us. We're just sharing. We're sharing our perspective.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And we want to welcome you and thank you guys for being a part of the Go Lightly perspective. The Most High bless you, strengthen you. May he cause his face to shine upon you. Shalom.
Shalom.